Hello everyone and welcome to episode 14 of my dev commentary and playthrough of my Pokemon Romhack Pokemon Victory. My name is KFM and this is the Romhack I have created, and today will most likely be the last episode of this playthrough. But we'll see. We'll start like we usually do. We'll have a look at the town map and see what we did last time. Last time I believe we started in Lamina Town. We just defeated Lucy. And we went out to Route 3 and talked to the Dancer NPC who taught us the Oricorio dance. We then went down to Route 10, explored the entirety of Route 10 as that is the direction we are supposed to be headed. While we were doing that, we also found the Oricorio and performed our little dance and caught the Oricorio. I believe unfortunately it was a bad egg, but nonetheless we did that event, that little secret. We also had time to enter the Iron Spire Ridge, which is this cave here. Inside the cave we found a fossil, the jaw fossil, which we brought all the way down to the fossil scientist in Rotesi Town, who revived it for us and gave us a Tyrant, which I have put in the box because it is not going to be part of our team here. Speaking of our team, this is our lineup for the last area of the demo. Figure we could use some experience maybe. Do we have any? Yes, we do. Let's just bring up our sole little straggler here. Let's bring him up to 22. Gust is very nice. Better than Peck. Wattrel is a special attacker. Go. Anything else? Quake attack. That's not very useful. We'll skip that. Alright, Farfetch'd maybe. Yep. Couple levels on Farfetch'd. Mirror move. That sounds kind of fun, but also pretty useless, so we're gonna skip that as well. And that's probably everything. Yeah. Alright, so with that said, let us start traveling deeper in the Iron Spire Ridge. I'm actually going to use repels immediately because I bought a bunch. And I think I already went through the Pokemon you can catch here last time, so I'm not going to talk about that. These trainers we fought last time, so I can just head on right by. And I believe we went south here, and that's the extent of our exploration from last episode. So continuing west and north, everything will be new. Hello there. Oh. Alright, third trainer in here. Fourth if you count the one that was below, next to the fossil. Aeron, which you can catch in here. Right, Flying and Water Resonance. We have double resonance. And we have our level 28 Dodrio that's probably is going to KO everything we encounter in here. We will see. There are plenty of trainer battles coming up as we ascend the mountain. Wattrel. I guess Marshtomp is pretty good here because we have Rock Throw. Let's see. Yep, Rock Throw. Let's not miss. Thank you. Didn't quite knock it out. Gust. Should do nothing. Oh yeah, Mud Coat. Nice. Lovely. We probably have Rock Throw. Okay, Quick Claw. That probably mattered. We're not very fast. During the first turn, we were obviously faster due to Flying Resonance. Very, very nice. Now the correct way to go is west, but we are going to do a quick loop around here and pick up an item. Huh, that was a Pokeball in a Great Ball. Overworld Great Ball. That is probably incorrect. That should be an evolution item, I believe. So probably have to look at that. But that's whatever. It's almost customary at this point that I encounter some bugs when I play through this. which in a way is very good, because that means I can fix the bugs now that I know about them. But as we head deeper, we run into our dear rival Brandon, who assumes we're also headed to Diamore, which is the general story. We're just out here getting all the gym badges, and Diamore City is the next city with a gym. Brandon says he saw a bunch of burglars headed deeper into the cave, and they are probably up to no good. He ends with a slightly cryptic line where he says, "I would know." I wonder what that means. I wonder if he has maybe some history with the burglars. And then Amy pops up, and this is the first time that the rivals sort of appear at the same time. It's the first time they meet each other, so they sort of say hi to each other, or Amy says hi to Brandon. They sort of interact a bit. Again, with the dialogue and the story in this game, it's not a massive focus. Well, I'm not going to say dialogue isn't a massive focus, but story isn't a massive focus. So I tried to keep this relatively brief. And it is quite challenging to write brief dialogue that doesn't just feel like it's wasting your time and you have to spam A to get through all of it, but that also gets the information you want to get across to the player across. If that makes sense. But yeah, so Amy says that she also saw some burglars in here, some shady guy heading up top. And Brandon says he's gonna go up there and fight the burglar boss, get them to leave, because again, probably up to no good. And he says, "Come and back me up if you want." Amy comments a bit on Brandon, and she also heads up, and we are now all three headed in the same direction. So let's see what we find up above as we ascend the ladder. And we can see Brandon fighting against a burglar down there, next to that bridge. I put an escape rope here in case players want to dig out and heal or whatever, or dig out later. I think it's nice to leave escape ropes here and there. You can definitely just buy them from stores and always carry a couple with you, but it's also just nice to leave at least one in a cave to make the exit smoother if you really want to exit, and then you can buy more escape ropes when you come back into the, or before you come back into the cave if you want. Here we see Amy fighting a burglar as well, sort of questioning them. She's got a Sentret. It's actually quite difficult to decide which Pokemon Amy should have out when she's battling here, because she uses so many different ones, right? Like the first time you meet her, she uses 3 water types, second time 3 grass types, third time 3 ground types. So it doesn't really feel like she has a main Pokemon, so to speak. While Brandon obviously has the starter that he picked, which is Chikorita and Bayleaf in this case. Amy doesn't really have that. So I just picked the Sentret, which is a normal type. Normal type might make sense because we may or may not be finding the normal orb during this episode. Spoilers for this episode. So I thought, hey, I'll just pick a normal type because that's sort of the theme of the orb we're finding, and Amy usually reflects the type of the orb that's close by with her Pokemon. So sort of a minor reason why she has Sentret there. As we run into our first burglar battle, you could say this is the first like normal burglar battle. Just like a burglar standing around and approaching you as a regular trainer. Since the previous 2 burglar battles were like scripted events, so to speak. This guy is a Salandit. I love Salandit, I think it's a great design. Again, one of the few Pokemon that's not Gen 1, 2, and 3 that I really like the design of. Salandit is super cool, really good design, super clean. So they have Salandit. Obviously Salandit fits the burglars great because it's literally like a little thief or burglar Pokemon. Right, I'm very curious if Rock Throw or Water Pulse does more. 36 attack, 35 special, so they're basically the same. Zubat has the same defenses. And Rock Throw is 50, but it's super effective, so what's that, like double, right? So 100. And Water Pulse is 60, but we have Stab, so it's 90. So Rock Throw should do more? If I can do math and I know my Pokemon calculations. Which I'm not sure I do, but I tried. I guess we'll try Water Pulse here. Maybe it won't knock it out. feel like we were getting very lucky with the quick loss. It's very nice. Oh, never mind. Didn't matter at all. That did nothing. Water pulse. Okay, well, a critical hit. Okay, there goes our testing data. Level 26, very nice. I did do a quick check before I started this episode to see if there's anything any of our Pokemon learn that's like interesting that I want to show off in the episode. But no, they all learn maybe 1 or 2 more moves before they hit the level cap of 30. I think maybe one learned a new ability. I think Farfetch'd learns the Defiant ability kind of soon. But nothing like super interesting, although Defiant is pretty nice actually, because there's a lot of dark types in here. The burglars use dark types, they use poison types, and I guess that's sort of their type range. I mean, it's pretty common for the evil team in Pokemon, I feel like, to use dark or poison or both. Like Team Rocket is the same, right? Just stay in here. But again, in my game, I have some variation. They don't only use those types. We're gonna see a Mankey, for example, which is a normal fighting type in my game, so not dark or poison. So we defeat the second burglar, no problem. Burglar Leroy. Let's see. And now we're up on the, or just before the bridge, battling this guy. You're not a burglar. No, we are not. Thank you for noticing. Burglar built Sandile. I also like Sandile, a very cute Pokemon. Let's see, we probably knocked this out. It's only level 21. Do you have Bullet Seed? We're gonna Bullet Seed? Yeah, screw it. Super effective, right? Okay, we have to get a bit lucky. Did not get lucky, but what's the worst that Sandile can do, right? Bite, yeah, that's not too bad. Sure. Alright, I kinda wanna use my Farfetch'd a little bit, because against all the dark types and normal types, it's incredibly effective. Against the big boss that's coming up, we will definitely be using Farfetch'd. Voltorb. Don't think this Voltorb will have time to use its cool new ability, because we hopefully knock it out here. Yes, we do, no problem. Coughing. Coughing has Levitate in my game. That's a bit annoying, but let's do Marshtomp, sure. Coughings do not have self-destruct at this level, so they cannot blow up this early in the game. You know, in the regular Pokemon games, they're very notorious for liking to blow themselves up, do a bunch of damage. Sludge. Honestly, we probably take more damage from Mudcoat proccing there than just resisting the sludge. But it is what it is. So we knock out this trainer's final Pokemon. Very nice. Gah. Alright, so we crossed the bridge. We can see that Brandon is no longer here. I didn't point it out. Wait, let me jump back. Where did I have my save state? Okay, never mind. I didn't point it out. Maybe you saw it, but if you run, or when you run past down here, if you look up here, where I'm standing now, you can see a couple of burglars, and presumably the burglar boss standing here sort of talking. That's just like visual flair. It's not even visual storytelling. I mean, I guess technically it's visual storytelling, but it doesn't matter. It's just there. And now they've moved on, obviously. And there's a little rock path thingy here, or sorry, rock climb path here that you can rock climb on if you have rock climb, which you don't have in the demo. Let's make our way up. We are nearing the big fight. So here is a dig tunnel. So if you want to go and heal your Pokemon, which I mean we don't really need to because we have super potions, but then you can use this dig tunnel to dig to an earlier town. Verdanoak is probably the best one. And just heal up there real quick. And again, this is what I really love about this dig tunnel system. I don't have to put these only in towns, I can put them anywhere, so I can have very natural checkpoints in caves and such, where if the player wants to leave, heal and come back, they can do so at this checkpoint. So it's super nice, works out very nicely. Up here is a hiker who is laughing at you because this area is off limits in the demo. I have plans for this little cave here. Sort of like a sequence break. It's going to be very dark inside, so you won't see much. You'll probably need to light the cave up, but I've already spoken about several ways you can do that already in this game. What exactly is going to be behind it, I'm not sure, but again, it's going to be a little bit of a sequence break. Honestly, we'll see when I open this cave up. This cave might still be closed for now, and maybe just open up after you defeat the boss here. I'm not entirely decided. But again, that's just me leaving myself loose threads to further develop when I keep making the game. Alright, the final stretch. Just a couple more burglars and then the final fight of the demo. Oh well, it's technically the final fight. You could argue that it isn't, but I'll talk more about that later. Grogunk, no problem. As our dojo continues to carry us through the game. So land it. That's not going to be a problem either. I feel like Dojo's typing just matches up so nicely against so many things. The only exception so far is like maybe coughing and maybe watchroll, but I mean it's not like we're bad against them. Most things I feel like we have super effective stuff against because ground is so useful. And stuff that resists ground like grass and bug are knocked out by flying moves, so very good Pokemon. Almost at the level cap. Why are we here just to steal? That is definitely a reference to why are we here just to suffer, just for fun. Again, that's me just having to write a bunch of dialogue. This guy is blocking this ladder. He says one of his bosses is busy with something up ahead and he's not leaving until the boss is finished, so we'll have to beat the boss for this guy to move. So let's go and do that as we face the last regular burglar, who says their boss opened a big door and found some ancient orb. Sounds like we've hit the jackpot. Now if you watch this entire playthrough, you'll know that we've run into a couple of doors and a couple of orbs. So what the boss has assumably found is definitely a residence orb. Which orb we will see. Although I definitely spoiled it earlier, so you should know, but we'll see nonetheless. That was really low experience. Oh right, it's low experience because we reach our cap here. But the rest is just stored in this door. Pluck at level 30. Well, I mean, same power as Aerial Ace. Nah, I know for a fact that none of the fights left have any berries to steal with Pluck anyways. Not that there's many fights left, there's like one. Coughing, curious if you knock you out with Aerial Ace actually, I don't think we do. No. Sludge, please don't poison us, that would be great. Thank you for poisoning us, very cool. That's fine though, I think we have a Pecha Berry. Or even a poison healing item. What are they called? Antidotes? Yeah. Level capped. Store all the experience in the experience store. Quick boss. Hide the orb. No, that's too late. Alright. This is it. Do I have antidotes? I do. Let's heal up. Let's just heal up to absolute full. Might as well use some inefficient super potions here because we are at the final fight anyways. Oh, I just realized we have soft sand. Why have I not given soft sand to Dojo? We're knocking out pretty much everything in one shot anyways. Alright. Right, actually we're gonna start with Farfetch'd. I said we would. And why not? Let's just level him up. highest we can go, which is only 2 extra levels, but that's fine. Slash, we don't need slash. Alright. Let's do it. Here we see Brandon and Amy facing off against question mark, because we don't know his name yet. Who is speaking to Brandon, who says they've come to stop whatever scheme the burglars are up to, and calls the burglar boss by his name Clyde, so Brandon knows his name. Very interesting. Then just a little bit of banter and Clyde shows off the orb, which Amy immediately reacts to. It turns out that Amy, what she's looking for in this region are the resonance orbs, which we've already found 2 of. We can't really show them to Amy yet, but we do have 2. To be fair, we didn't know she was looking for them, so we haven't told her. So he looks at us, says we look familiar. And then the fighting begins. So your companions or your rivals each take a burglar, and you get the honor of fighting burglar boss Clyde. I like the framing there with the little aqua symbol on the fighting, or the trainers, overworld trainers. Burglar Clyde. Now, this is the best song in the entire Generation 3 games. Actually, that might not be completely true. It's one of the best songs. I love this song. The Archie and Maxi battle themes. He sends out a Poochyena, but we saw that he resonates with normal, so let's have a quick look at normal resonance, as this is our first introduction to it. So it makes your Pokemon's damaging moves strike twice, but the second hit only deals 10% damage, and this does not have any effect on moves that already strike more than once. So any multi-strike moves, like Bullet Seed or Triple Kick or anything. So for those of you that have played Pokemon before, know that this is just Parental Bond, the ability Parental Bond from Mega Kangaskhan. It's the nerfed version, I believe, or at least I think Game Freak nerfed it down to 10% on the second hit. I think it used to be way higher. I want to say it used to be like 20 or 25%, but part of my brain even says that it used to be like 50%, it used to be mega busted. Regardless, it was very broken in Gen 6, I think. Way better now, or way less broken now. And I thought it fit as normal resonance. Normal resonance was definitely one of those resonance that I was very unsure of what I wanted to do, and still have it interesting. Like normal in my head is just the plain old everyday type, right? It's supposed to be sort of dull, but I didn't want the effect to be dull, right? So I went through a bunch of stuff. I think I went through just increasing crit rates, just having a simple, like the simple ability, but that would be way too busted to give all your Pokemon simple. Stat boosting would be completely broken. For a while, I think I had some weird gimmick that like you could only use offensive moves, you couldn't use status moves, like nobody could on the field. Like it just normalized everything to offensive moves, which, I don't know, it didn't really sound like a fun gimmick the more I thought about it, and it was a bit weird. But I'm pretty happy with this one. Parental Bond is obviously just a straight 10% increase in damage, but the real juice in the resonance is that your moves hit twice, which means that moves that have cool effects usually apply or try to apply those effects twice. So the very common one with Mega Kangaskhan and Parental Bond back in the day is Power Up Punch, right? Power Up Punch is a move which deals damage, but it also increases your attack by 1. But if you have Parental Bond or normal resonance, you hit twice, which means you increase your attack twice. And this works with moves that can apply status, like Ember or Poison Sting. You know, you hit twice, you have a higher chance to apply status. So I feel like this resonance is interesting enough, especially now that you can just use it on any Pokemon. You can probably come up with some really interesting combinations. It works nicely with other resonances, like the wet resonance, or sorry, water resonance has a 50% chance to apply wet. And if you hit twice, then you have 50% chance to apply wet twice, which is, it's not a 100% chance to apply wet, but it's higher than 50%. Same thing with grass resonance, you heal twice, so a lot of fun things. As we defeat Clyde's first Pokemon, he comments and says that shouldn't this orb make him stronger? It seems like he doesn't really know what it's doing or how to use it. Maybe he hasn't quite understood that he has normal resonance active. He sends out a Mankey, one of his normal Pokemon, because like I said before, Mankey is fighting normal in my game. Raging Punch is Fury Cutter, and I actually made that move up, and it works very nicely with normal resonance, because Fury Cutter, or in this case Raging Punch, increases in power for every hit, and it now hits twice per turn, so it increases in power very, very quickly. I believe after just one hit with normal resonance, it jumps up to like something obscene, like 120 power or something. So I think maybe that Mankey can actually cause some real problems for people that aren't prepared for it. But we are very prepared, as he sends out Linoon, again an evolved Pokemon, which we're not too used to seeing. This again is a normal type, or part normal type. So he's got one dark type, two normal types, and then one Pokemon at the end that is holding the normal orb. Alright, no problem. And his last Pokemon is Golbat, which Farfetch'd is not really set to handle. Maybe this is time to send in our underdog here, our Wattrel. We can see what she can do here. Some damage would be good. This Golbat has a Nerve. And let's just use Thunder Shock. Paralysis would be great. Wow, that was a lot of damage from a crit. No paralysis, that's gonna do a lot of damage to us. Yeah. Alright, well, we're not really gonna let our Wattrel go down, I feel like. So we are going to swap to... let's do Marshtomp. Feels apt to end the demo with our starter. Golbat uses Venesection, which, if you don't remember, is a move that I've made which heals you for half the damage it deals, and it also deals double damage if the opposing Pokemon is statused, so for example poisoned. So it used Poison Fang first there, and then it started using Venesection to try and get the boost, which is a very good combo. This Golbat can also be pretty hard because Golbat is relatively tanky, and if you're lucky, it's just gonna heal itself up. Poison Fang, he gets the poison because he hits twice, and I would love it if we knock it out before it heals itself with Venesection here. Let's see if we get lucky. Did not get lucky, but we do resist this. Did not too much damage. I don't think we knock it out here though. It's healed up. Water Pulse should survive. Alright, one more Water Pulse. We should be fine. Even if we get crit, maybe we're fine. Snaps out of Confusion. Venesection. But let's do like 14. 15. It crit us for 1. It seems like very low damage, but we do resist. We do resist the move. Alright. Excellent. And that is the final battle of the demo. Again, this guy used to be way stronger. His Linoon and Golbat used to be level 30, I believe, or at least the Linoon, which is way too high. I basically did that because 30 was the cap, so I thought, hey, I'll just leave the final boss at the cap, the level cap. But with the amount of trainers you do between the third gym and this point, you don't really reach the level cap at all, so it was just very annoying to have him that high level. But he's now defeated. He says some interesting dialogue that may have something to do with the oncoming story, who knows. Then they are out of there as a burglar runs up from behind us, sends out a coughing that uses smokescreen. That's very anime-esque, I believe, from the Pokemon anime. Using smokescreen to obscure vision and escape. Again, I needed to have them escape somehow, so I thought that was a fun little method. Brandon says he's gonna go after them, so Brandon has sort of a new goal now. To go after these burglars, because they're up to no good, and he seems to have maybe some history with them. Amy says she'll do the same, because, I mean, evidently they know about these orbs and they're finding them, so their goals almost sort of line up, you could say. She asks if she could go with Brandon. Brandon says no, he's a bit of an idiot. But he leaves. And Amy actually managed to grab the orb from the burglar. So again, I wanted to give the orb to Amy and the player here somehow, so I just have it that the burglar drops it. And Amy sees that and picks it up. Amy explains that this is what she's looking for. All she knows is that she's got to find them. She doesn't really know what they do or why they're here. And she says since we helped her find this one, she's leaving it with us. Now again, this doesn't make too much sense because these orbs are what she's looking for. So it would make sense that she just collects them and keeps them to herself. But I, as the developer, obviously want the player to have the orbs so you can use them in combat. Use their effects, use them to construct fun teams with resonances. So I just have Amy give it to you because she trusts you. I think that's fine. And she comments on the fact that it looked like the burglar boss used the orb to power up his Pokemon. She's not really sure how that works, but she says that you'll probably figure it out. And that's me sort of cluing you in that you can use these orbs, give them to your Pokemon to change their resonance type, right? Which you have to find out on your own, but she clues you in that you can do it. Alright, so if we head up north, we enter this little room. Let me just cure our poison here quickly, so we don't have to worry about our screen shaking. There we go. So this is where the normal orb was, but it's obviously not here anymore because Clyde took it. Clyde and his burglars opened the resonance door using normal resonance. Now we're running into Pokemon even though we have Super Repel on because you can catch Golbats and Gravelers at level 26 here, and because our leading Pokemon is 25, we unfortunately run into them, which is annoying. Please let me run. Thank you. Let's solve that problem by just swapping Dodrio back out front. There we go. Alright. Let's head down now that the burglar blocking the stair or ladder is gone. We are still in the Iron Spire Ridge, but we are in a different part. There's really not much here except the evolution item for Zubat, which you get very late in the demo to be fair, but I needed to put it somewhere. I needed to put something here, so this is where you get it. You can catch Golbats in here anyways, so it doesn't really matter that you get it late because you can get Golbats earlier, straight up. And here we find Jessica, who is the last demo NPC we will talk to. She says that the Rangers caught wind of some burglar activity in these caves. She's here to investigate, and we tell her that we've already sort of dealt with the problem. But she ends off this dialogue with saying, or telling us to meet her in Diamore City to discuss things further. And that's the sort of plot story cliffhanger that I leave players on in the demo, because we will never get to Diamore City, unfortunately. Now if we come down here and go to the east, we can sort of notice that this is where we were before, fighting all the burglars. This is the ridge. Brandon was standing up there, and Amy was standing here blocking the path, but now Amy is obviously no longer here, so we can just go through and head down. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we exit this cave, we are indeed finished with the demo. Alright, here we are, Route 11. I believe I've said before that the demo ends on Route 11. Let's just have a look at our town map here. Here we are, Route 11, just after Route 10 to the west of Verdun Oak. This is obviously not the actual Route 11. This is just a little area that I made as the end of the demo. You might notice a curious looking NPC standing up there. That is very much me. KFM. I did self-insert myself into this game. That is not something I plan on doing for the full game, obviously, because I'm not a huge fan of that. But for the demo, I think it was fun to end the demo with sort of putting my NPC here, and I have a ton of dialogue to go through, which we will actually go through. We will go through everything. So this episode is probably going to end up being slightly longer than normal, but I think that's absolutely fine. It is the last episode. But just real quick, there's a little signpost. End of the road. Thanks for playing demo version 0.1. And again, if you do play this game, thank you very, very much. There is a dig tunnel. If you want to just dig your way out of here, keep exploring, do some secrets. Again, we can see that dig tunnel we discovered in Route 10 there. We can also dig to if you want to explore there. But yeah, so let's just talk, I guess. You know what, I'm actually gonna save the game here. That feels apt. 10 hours, 34 minutes. That's pretty good time. I have been rambling a bunch, which has increased my time, but we have done all the secrets, and that clocks the demo in around 10 hours, which I believe is the amount of time that I sort of advertise in my posts about the demo. I say it's around 10 hours of content, so I'm glad to see that's somewhat holding true. But alright, let's see what I have to say. Hi there, I'm KFM. So yeah, this is going to be a bit weird because obviously I wrote all this dialogue and I'm also here to speak to you guys. So I'm not going to read the dialogue word for word. If you want to read the dialogue for yourself, I recommend either playing the game by yourself or just pausing as I click through it. I'm going to do my best not to click through everything too fast, and also my best not to just read it straight up. I'm going to try to put my own spin on it as I am recording this video. But as you start talking to me here, I say that I have a lot to talk about, and I let the player choose the topic. So if I go to the next text box here, the camera jumps to the side, and I ask, what do you want to talk about? And in the background, I have a little fun scene. Just a little grassy area that just shows some NPCs and some Pokemon in this case. This is obviously Lucy and the youngsters playing with some of their evolutions, and then Eevee. And before we tackle this massive box of several dialogue options, because again, I don't know if you guys have noticed by now, but I really like ranting about my own game, which I guess it feels apt that we're gonna finish this episode by ranting a bunch. But before we do that, we're actually gonna stop talking to me and talk to me again. And we now see that something else is being shown in that little grassy area. This time it's Wada and his Squirtle family friends. So I just made this as a sort of fun thing, that whenever you talk to me, it shows a different scene to the left here. Maybe you can recognize what all the scenes mean, but they're all sort of like moments in the demo in chronological order. If you watch this entire playthrough, you should recognize, I think, pretty much every scene, except maybe the one with the Vaporeon, because that one we didn't really explore much. That one, yeah, on Route 10. I believe I have around 13. I'm not entirely sure, but it does loop. It does go in a straight line. The first one you get is completely random, and then it just goes straight in a straight line, one after the other. So this is the last one, because this is what we just did. We fought together with Amy and Brandon against the burglar boss Clyde. And then if we go here, it is the first scene, which is our dad, our granny, and our little sister. There's the pasture and the professor, and now we're back to the Eevee, so now we've looped. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that. That's just something fun I coded for the demo. Again, none of this is going to be in the final game, obviously, but for the demo I think it's nice. Alright, let's just dig into it. We have a lot to get through. I guess I can start actually with this one, which is heal my party. So you can just heal your Pokemon here if you want to. Because what you can also do is fight me. I feel like maybe we should start with that actually, so we have that out of the way. But if you ask to fight me, the developer, I offer you 3 teams. And this is an excellent place to sort of see the resonances, or some of the resonances. Fighting, water, and bug. I made myself 3 teams for no specific reasons. I just had some fun interactions in mind. I really like these resonances, so I want to show them off. So let's just go through them. I think I'll gently tap the speed up button as we go through this. That's me, by the way. Sprite made by, not by me actually, by a friend of mine, good friend of mine. So we'll just gently tap through and see what we can do. Now I'm pretty strong, or I made myself pretty strong in this demo. I have 4 Pokemon, they're all level 30. I do give money and I do give experience if you want to grind. This is a great place to do so if you can defeat my team. And since we have a flying type team, I think we should do quite excellent. Let's have a quick look at Fighting Resonance. This is one of my favorite resonances by far. It makes your normal type Pokemon fighting type. It makes your normal moves fighting type moves. And your fighting moves hit through protect. So in double battles this would probably be absolutely mandatory because you can hit through protect. But this game does not really focus too much on double battles. I feel like regardless during, or it's mostly in competitive double battles that protect is so massive. During PvE or just regular games, double battles maybe don't use protect quite as much. I mean you can, but it's not quite as strong. But yeah, so Fighting Resonance just makes everything that's normal become fighting, which is quite fun. I mean, just spontaneous example, imagine Quick Attack or Extreme Speed, the moves. Extreme Speed specifically, you can have a fighting type Extreme Speed. With Arcanine in my game, or Growlithe, but Arcanine is also going to be in the game obviously. It is fire and normal type in my game, Arcanine. So with Fighting Resonance, Arcanine becomes fire fighting type. And Arcanine learns Extreme Speed, so you would now have Stab fighting type Extreme Speed on Arcanine. There's a lot of normal, like, not status moves, but like utility moves, like Fake Out. You could have a fighting type Fake Out. You could have a fighting type. Yeah, no, that's where my creativity ended. But yeah, there's a lot of normal type moves that you can make fighting, so I think that's really fun. But obviously I needed something to actually give the Pokemon that are already fighting types, so I added the extra thing that fighting moves hit through protect. So that's a fun resonance. Right, you might actually even notice on Primeape that Primeape is originally fighting normal in my game, or Mankey is, so Primeape is too. But here it's only fighting, because its normal typing becomes fighting, so it's just fighting type, which is, I mean, fighting type. So we don't knock it out in one hit, which has me a little bit scared. Wow. Well, we just got completely destroyed. That is very unfortunate. But we are going to go into Wattrel, which can hopefully knock it out with a Gust or a Thundershock, and we don't get countered. And we're faster because of Flying Resonance. I said I was going to speed up, didn't I? Definitely not doing that right now. Raging Punch, we should resist that. Are we faster? Not even remotely close. Gosh, wow, are we okay here? Let's go Farfetch'd. I am going to gently speed up. Counter, that's really good for us. Wing attack. Nice, knock it out. Some good experience there. Revenge, we don't need revenge. As I send out my own Farfetch'd, Hitmonchan should be good against this. We are weak to flying, but we are strong against fighting with our fairy type. As I gently speed up. Comet Punch, let's see it. Nice. 1 KO. Lovely. Or technically 3 hit KO, I guess. Nice. Hitmonchan. Again, I really like Hitmonchan, so I wanted to show it off. Wow, now we just mirrored the matchup, but they have the Hitmonchan and I have the Farfetch'd. But I have Flying Resonance, so it has Fake Out. We have been destroyed. And as we saw, Hitmonchan... Oh. Okay. We're gaming. Are we outspeeding now? No. Damn. That was almost really cool. It's going to use Comet Punch, and Wattrel is going to evaporate. Sorry, Wattrel. I want to keep my Farfetch'd around. Rest in pieces as we get crit. Farfetch'd. Wing attack. So just, what did I use? Fake out again? What the AI isn't very good at understanding fake out. Oh, we do get knocked out here. This is very sad. Lombre. Don't really want Farfetch'd to get knocked out. Comet Punch. Okay, we don't. There's no way we knock it out here, but we can try with Bullet Seed. Stop using Fake Out, Hitmonchan. Fighting type Fake Out, by the way. Obviously. Do we get super lucky? No. Well, Lombre, you're gonna have to take one for the team. Sorry about that. As it just uses Fake Out. Okay, you're not gonna have to take one for the team. Assuming we know. Oh, yeah, we definitely knock it out here. Damn, the AI, the Fake Out AI might need some fine-tuning. Alright, nice and easy. Nature Power. Sure, Nature Power is kind of fun. Absorb is kind of useless, we're using Bullet Seed all the time anyways. Zangoose. Now, Zangoose is not a fighting type, Zangoose is a normal type. However, here in this case, it is obviously a pure fighting type due to fighting resonance, which I don't know, I just think it's really cool. You can have a bunch of fighting types. You can have a fighting type tanky Snorlax, like fighting type body slam that paralyzes. That sounds disgusting. Cut. I don't know why you used the grass move. Could have used slash for stab, but yeah. Definitely knows that cut is a grass type move, so whatever. Whatever, easy win, right? Actually, that was decently rough. Unlock the ability 27, that's a bug we've seen before. The actual ability is justified. I have actually already fixed that bug in my internal build. When that's released, I can't tell you, because I don't know. Let's do one more fight. Let's fight the bug team. Water, I've already shown you water resonance, so I don't feel like I need to show you the water team. Butterfree. One of the few fully evolved Pokemon. Well, I guess Dodrio is too. One of the few stage 3 Pokemon. Now, the bug type resonance is incredibly straightforward and incredibly good and incredibly fun, in my opinion. Your Pokemon's moves have their accuracy set to 100%. This does not affect moves that can't miss, so Aerial Ace, for example, can't miss, so that's not going to have its accuracy changed, obviously. Now, something I want to bring attention to is the wording. It says your Pokemon's moves have their accuracy set to 100%. It doesn't say that your Pokemon's moves accuracy is always 100% or that they can't miss. And what this means is that if we take Rock Slide, for example, Rock Slide has what, 90, 85% accuracy usually? With Bug Resonance, Rock Slide's accuracy becomes 100% instead of 90 or 80 or whatever. However, if your Pokemon has its accuracy lowered, that still works or affects you. So I'm not sure how much one stage of accuracy drop lowers your accuracy by, but I think it's maybe to like 67 or 70%. So you can still have your accuracy dropped by opponents. So this does not negate like double team on the opponent or sand attack on you. You can miss in those cases. But in all other cases, if you just have a move that usually has a low accuracy, it is 100%. So for example, Supersonic, which has like a 55% chance to hit, which is useless, but it confuses. Grass Whistle, Sleep Powder, all of those sleep moves that have a really low chance. Hypnosis, they're now 100%. Sap Cannon, that insanely strong electric move that always paralyzes but has a 50% chance to miss. You can just use Bug Resonance and have a 100% chance to hit Sap Cannon, which is disgusting. As I believe we're going to get put to sleep here. Nope, we're just going to get attacked. That's pretty good for us. Pretty sure this Butterfree has Sleep Powder. Okay, just Powder, that's not going to help you, buddy. But yeah, so Bug Resonance, really just boosts moves that don't have 100% accuracy. It's actually super nice. It opens up for really fun strategies. It opens up for strategies very early on, because there's a lot of early moves that have garbage accuracy. Again, like Supersonic, Sleep Powder. And here you can just have Bug Resonance and have those be very effective immediately. I also gave this bug team a Poliwhirl, which is a water type, because again I like switching up the types a little bit. But Poliwhirl is notorious for knowing Hypnosis, so this one obviously knows Hypnosis, and it tries its best to put you to sleep, which is really annoying because it has a 100% chance to hit Hypnosis. Now there are obviously ways to get out of this. There is a resonance that makes you immune to status, which is Fairy Resonance. There are items, berries that remove sleep. There are abilities that remove sleep. There are moves that can be used while you are asleep. So I don't feel like this is too overpowered. See that? You used Hypnosis again. Thought I was gonna switch. Huh. Nice try. Okay, it's actually spamming Hypnosis. Is it broken? No, but yeah, so I don't think it's broken. I just think it's definitely very strong. It's pretty strong if you're not prepared for it, because you're basically giving every Pokemon that has a sleep move 100% accuracy on that sleep move. You're giving Spore to all of those Pokemon, which is nutty. As we don't knock it out, unfortunately. That's unfortunate. Don't really want to switch because we're gonna get put to sleep. Yeah. Actually, we have a bunch of bird Pokemon. I don't know if any of them have early bird though. Actually, I don't think any of them do. There are some Pokemon with like insomnia. That's weird. Disable didn't work. I guess it's because I didn't move last turn. Hypnosis. There we go. I'm really not speeding up a lot, but that's because I'm rambling. I should speed up because we have a lot to get through. Alright, yeah, let's just speed up. I have now shown you Resonance, Skitter, Poison Fang, probably faster than us, Leech Life, fine, knock it out. Parasect. Parasect is a bit cool for me to show off because it is actually a grass ghost type in this game. Sorry, bug ghost type, my bad. Bug ghost type, because the lore behind Parasect is that the fungus on the little bug takes over and sort of kills and controls the bug. So I thought it would be cool to make it a ghost type, so it knows stuff like Shadow Claw and Shadow Sneak. I think it knows Shadow Sneak. And another fun fact is that Parasect is the, I believe, only ghost type that you can get in the demo. It is the only one, and I think you can only get one because you need Big Mushroom to evolve Paras, and there's one Big Mushroom you can pick up in the deeper Ivana Woods. But I think, if I don't remember incorrectly, I gave regular Paras or Shroomish a like 5% chance to carry a Big Mushroom, so you can technically get it from them. I think I did. I don't actually remember. I know I had the idea, but I don't remember if I implemented it, so I might be lying. If I did do that, then you can technically get 3 Parasects, and you can technically see the Ghost Resonance, because Ghost Resonance is in the game. All the Resonances are in the game. Ghost, Dragon, and Ice are in the game as well. Oops, I double node. I'm being silly. Hang on. There we go. So yeah, you could technically see Ghost Resonance. You can definitely see Dragon Resonance. I believe I said this before, but there's like 3 Dragon types in the game. The only Resonance you by no means can see is Ice, unless you somehow cheat. You cannot catch a single Ice type Pokemon in the demo. Alright. Get ready for the Yapathon. This is it. We're going through all of this 26 topics or something. At a relative pace, I think, but let's have a look. Who are you? AKA, who am I? The guy who's been talking to you guys for, what, 14 episodes by this point. I'm a programmer. I was a programmer before I started this demo, or this project. Well, technically. I've been programming for 2 years on my own before I started this project. I'm a self-taught programmer, I guess you could say, and by that I mean I didn't study programming. I had like 1 programming course during college, but that was it. Otherwise I just did it on my own, used online tutorials, stuff like that. I eventually got a job that I stayed at for 4 years. in the web and app industry. I studied game design for college in Sweden. I'm Swedish, if you didn't know, or couldn't tell by my accent, although I do feel like I cover my Swedish accent decently well, but you can definitely hear it shine through on some words, like yellow, for example, or chicken. But yeah, I studied game design. I'm actually didn't quite finish studying game design. I was pretty tired of studying, so I decided not to finish. But turns out that I really like game design and I really like programming, so those two things sort of came together and helped me make this Romhack, because I love video games. I love Pokemon. I think Pokemon's great, and that's sort of the origin for this Romhack. I just wanted to make my own game, see what I could come up with. Now you can ask my NPC here how many secrets you found. And there are 13 secrets, and we have found all 13 secrets, as is to be expected, because I made the game, so I would be quite embarrassed if that number didn't say 13 out of 13, but I was pretty sure I hadn't missed anything. When is the rest of the game out? That is an excellent question, and I give you a very immediate answer when you talk to me here. Probably never. Now, I spent a lot of time making this, and for now I have other projects I want to turn my attention to, so I am not currently planning on continuing developing this. With that said, I'm probably gonna prod it here and there, maybe try to make at least one patch for the demo to fix a bunch of bugs that I've found, but active development on the full game is not going to be in full swing, because my focus will be elsewhere. On what exactly I'm not going to talk about here, but it's not Pokemon related, so it's not really relevant. But I'd like to finish this one day. I have so many plans, so many more things I want to do. I really want to finish it, and I'd really like to release a completed game, because I feel like a completed game draws a lot more attention. And I would absolutely love for just more and more people to play this, because it is insanely satisfying to watch people play something that you made. It's actually a crazy feeling. It almost makes the 5.5 years worth it. No, it does. It definitely does. It's a great feeling. Alright, we've already fought and we've already healed. Where do I report a bug? If you do find a bug, I made a Poke community post where I posted this game. I'd love it if you could write it there. You could message me directly on Discord. My handle is KFMX. That is harder than I thought it would be, because apparently you need to add people as friends on Discord to be able to message them, so that adds a little bit of a barrier for people to actually message me. I don't think there's a single person that's messaged me on Discord yet. People have sent me emails, people have written on the both Reddit and Poke community post, which is great. People write in YouTube comments, but I haven't gotten a single Discord message, which is fine. You don't have to contact me on Discord. But yeah, that's why I leave a email address here. If you're wondering why it says @ in capital letters, by the way, that's because the character set in Pokemon Emerald doesn't have the @ sign, so there's no @ sign, so I just wrote @ in capitals. But yeah, so if you have anything, any feedback, any bugs, please send me an email. I love reading that stuff. I've gotten some wonderful emails by people. It really makes my day, even if it's just a list of bugs. It's great to know that people play the game and also take the time to comment. It's awesome. How long did this take to make? I believe I've said that a couple of times during this playthrough. It took about 5.5 years. I started in or around January 2020, just before the pandemic, and I finished it this year, this August 2025, where I finished the demo at that time. Obviously, I haven't continually been working on the game during that time. I mean, I've taken breaks for like months at a time. I've remade the code base like 2 times, which is not recommended because it takes so long and it really hampers your progress. But at the same time, you could argue it was needed. But yeah, it takes a long time. I mean, you make everything yourself, which is just a bunch of stuff. Some of the stuff is super fun and some of the stuff is boring as heck. Again, I had to write dialogue for every single NPC, by the way. Did you really make this game alone? Yes, I say, as my character in the game says, of course not. That just really depends on how you look at it. Programming projects technically like never made alone, because you're always programming on the back of code that other people have made. Not always, but almost always. Well, technically always. So yeah, this wouldn't have been possible without this project wouldn't have been possible without the compilation of Pokemon Emerald done by Pret, or the upgrade of that done by RHH, which I say here, yeah, the expansion. I have several other credits. I list them in the Poke community posts, as many as I can remember. But yeah, so I'm the only person that's worked on this ROM. This might be like a little bit hard to understand if you're not involved in this stuff yourself, but like I programmed all of my own stuff, like my unique ideas. I had to make all of that on my own. But all of the stuff that other people had already made and is publicly available, I sort of use. So for example, and I think I've said this before, but following Pokemon, I didn't program that. Day-night cycle, I didn't program that. That's just stuff that people from Pret and RHH and other places have programmed, and I'm just using that. And it's open source, so you're absolutely allowed to use it. If you want to make your own project, that is the way to go. Don't just make this from scratch somehow. I don't even know how you would start that. You would always use or piggyback off of what other people have made. What's the focus of the game? Oh god, this is a long one. Yeah, I wanted my own map, and I like exploration, so this map focuses on side areas and stuff like that. I redesigned every single Pokemon with a friend of mine. Redesign is not like art, but it's the movesets, abilities, stats, everything, learn sets. Yeah, so, and obviously which Pokemon to include in the project. And I did all of that with my friend. Even before I made this game. We just had a fun game design side project, me and my friend, where we just picked a bunch of Pokemon we liked, randomly or semi-randomly, and we just redesigned them, wrote it down in documents. I have a Google Drive with every single Pokemon that we've redesigned and their documents. It's massive. And after we did all that and that started to finish, I was like, hey, I'm a programmer now. I kind of want to make my own game. So that's what I did. Type resonance. I'm really happy with the type resonance gimmick. I got it from Genshin Impact. I used to be a avid Genshin Impact player. I don't play anymore. But they have a system, which I explain here in text, but it's called Elemental Resonance, and it basically works exactly the same as my Resonance ID in this game. It's also where the name Resonance comes from. It's just that if you have the same element of character in Genshin Impact, you get like a buff. And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I'll do that for my game. Now, I'd argue that my buffs in this Pokemon game are way more interesting than the Genshin Impact buffs, because they are pretty boring. They're just straight up percentage, like you do more damage or you move faster. I go over the goals of type resonance. I think I maybe have talked about this in one of the earlier episodes, but honestly, one of the biggest goals that I thought was really cool is that I want to encourage players to use weird team combinations. Again, I think most people that play Pokemon use different types of Pokemon on their team. They sort of spread out their Pokemon to cover a bunch of bases, cover their own weaknesses. And I thought it would be cool to have a gimmick that sort of encourages you to use Pokemon of the same type. Like make a monotype team or a duotype team or whatever. And that is sort of weakened in that I introduced the orbs. So I sort of have like it's a bit of a compromise. So at the very worst, you need to use one orb of a type and then 2 Pokemon with that type. So 2 Pokemon of the same types to get a resonance. That's really not a lot, but that does require you to use an orb on one of your Pokemon. So a bit of a compromise there. Have a system that's fully accessible immediately, but the player is held back by their knowledge. I think I've said this before again, but I'm a fan of progression by knowledge. The resonance system is completely available to you as a player from the start. You can do any resonance at any time. You can swap it in the party menu, which type you resonate with. The only thing that's not accessible from the start are the orbs, I guess, because you have to find those by exploring. But I think these kinds of systems are fun because if you played this game before, or if you've looked it up online, or if you've talked to a friend, you know this stuff and you can just start using it immediately. Otherwise, you sort of had to discover it during the game. And that sort of encourages playing again, I think, because you can like play again. You just have resonance from the start and be like, oh, I'm gonna do a full bug resonance playthrough or something. Yeah, number 3, encourage fun new ways to play. Again, the buffs that Resonance give you are not boring, like do 5% more damage. Although you could almost argue that normal Resonance is that, I guess. But I really wanted it to be like something fun that would make you use moves or Pokemon or strategies that you wouldn't normally use, right? Bug Resonance is an excellent example. You would never use Hypnosis on your Poliwrath or Poliwhirl because it would just miss 60% of the time or 40% of the time. But now it always hits. So now you have a really cool combination. Maybe you can use Rain with your Poliwrath and have Swift Swim, because I think I kept Swift Swim on Poliwrath in this game. And you now have a Swift Swimmer that has a 100% accurate sleep move. That sounds so strong. You could probably bust the whole game open with that. Unless you run into Fairy Resonance. So yeah, I wanted it to be interesting, to make you try to use different combinations. To make your brain start thinking like, oh, I can do that now, but then I can use this, and then I can use that, yada yada yada. I feel like that's what most game designers are after, because that stuff is what game designers, or I as a game designer, find really fun in video games. Alright, enough about type resonance. Why change how evolution works? That's an excellent question. And I even say here that I think it works fine the way it is in the regular games. I have nothing against regular evolution, but I had an idea where I could just couple it with exploration and be like, oh, you need to unlock requirements for your Pokemon to evolve them. And you can do that by finding items or talking to NPCs, and that, you know, that encourages exploration. You now want to talk to NPCs to see if they give you an evolution requirement, or find every item, look in every nook and cranny to see if you can evolve new Pokemon. I also added the thing where you had to go back to the Poké Center and give the items to the professor as sort of like a fun thing that when you've been out exploring for a while and you've collected some items and you're finally back at a Poké Center, you're like excited to see which Pokemon you've unlocked requirements for, you know? So I'm really happy with the evolution system. I could also, like I said there, couple it with type resonance very easily. So I could just be like, oh, to evolve Charmander, you need fire resonance. Alright, well now the player has to figure out how to get fire resonance, and they'll get fire resonance, and maybe they'll see what fire resonance does in battle if they try it out, and it sort of feeds into each other, or the systems work together nicely. Let's see, there was another point I wanted to bring up about evolution. Right, this progression by knowledge thing. Again, you don't need to find a specific item for an evolution requirement in the game to evolve a Pokemon. Like if you just accidentally stumble across the requirement by immediately meeting it, or if you look it up online, or if you ask a friend, you can just do it immediately. Again, that's because I'm a huge fan of progression by knowledge. Why change how catching works? This is probably the least, or like the weakest link in my systems. It's just an idea I had very early, and I based it on the anime. Because in the anime, or in the early seasons of the anime, Ash usually faints Pokemon before he catches them. It sort of works nicely with the resonance gimmick, because with resonance you want a bunch of Pokemon of different types. So if I just make it easier to catch Pokemon, then maybe you're more inclined to just have a bunch of Pokemon of different types, so you can just try out resonances faster. But yeah, and I say that here. In hindsight, maybe simplifying catching has removed part of the difficulty that many find fun. There's no maybe there. It definitely removes part of the difficulty, and there are definitely people that find that fun, so that's just a fact. But I think the trade-off is worth it, and I have some plans to make maybe like certain boss Pokemon a bit harder to catch, so it's not actually 100%, so I maybe could do something fun with that. But yeah, the catching stayed. I think it also helps really differentiate my games from other Pokemon ROM hacks, because I don't think a lot of ROM hacks do this. Well, to be fair, I don't know of any ROM hacks that has done this, but again, I don't know too many ROM hacks. I mostly know the really popular ones. So it's very possible that someone's done this before. And as I say there at the end, it's really fun to watch people accidentally catch Pokemon all the time. Why did you pick these Pokemon? It's because I'm old. No, it's because I grew up with generations 1 to 3, and those are just the ones I like the most. So, yeah. Same with my friend that I redesigned the Pokemon with, we just picked mostly 1 to 3. There's some 1 to 3s that didn't make it into the game because they weren't interesting enough, or we didn't find out anything fun we could do with them. I know Azumarill didn't make it into the game or the demo because we just looked at Azumarill and we were like, yeah, it's a bunny that's shaped like an egg. Can we come up with anything fun? And we couldn't. To be fair, it was like one of the last Pokemon we tried to do, so we were probably a bit burnt out, but yeah. According to my documents, I've implemented 141 Pokemon. Yeah. The full Pokédex, I believe, is sitting at 336 or something, which might very much change, and there's not 336 Pokemon in the demo. There's way less. There's even less than 141 probably. Why these type chart changes? I wanted to change the typings because I think some typings are too weak and some typings are too strong. Originally, me and my friend used math, some made-up math, to sort of compare the types to each other, see which ones were strong, which ones were weak. But what that mostly did is just make every type very homogeneous and kind of boring. So I just decided to scrap that and make type changes based on my knowledge of Pokemon and what I felt was right. And I felt that Fairy was too strong, I felt that Bug was too weak, and I felt that Steel could also use a nerf. Oh, and Ice is too weak defensively. Because Ice is like only offense, no defense. Whenever, yeah, right, I explained that here. So Bug has some knee strengths, but it's not like strong enough in general. So making it super effective against Fairy is kind of huge, and not resisted by poison is also kind of huge. Fairy type is busted, so I make it weak to Bug, and this just, yeah, like I say here, kills two birds with one stone. Bug is now way better, Fairy is now way worse. And it's not too far-fetched logic-wise. I mean, I don't know, maybe it is. I think my logic was something like Fairy is like cute and fluffy stuff, and Bugs are like icky and creepy. So cute and fluffy stuff doesn't like icky and creepy stuff. I don't know. To be fair, a lot of the type matchups in Pokemon don't make sense as it is. Right, so Ice type is way too weak defensively. Now it feels kind of bad to give it more resistances because that makes it more balanced and reduces or like removes its niche as like the offensive type, like that's only offensive, but I felt it was worth it because Ice is terrible on defense. And all of the other offensive types like ground, fighting, have way more resistances than Ice, so I use buffed Ice. And yeah, Steel is too good defensively. I didn't want to make Steel like super nerfed, so I just made it not resist grass and not resist psychic, and that's it. Which I don't feel like they're not massive, but they sort of balance it a little bit, and they also buff grass and psychic in a way, which is quite nice. Can you, the viewer or player, contribute to this game? Probably not. But if you want to, then thank you very much. That means a lot. It's actually quite flattering if you've played my game and you like it enough to actually offer, like, helping. That's crazy. But like I said, because I'm not really planning on working on this right now, that's not gonna work out because I'm not gonna be working on it. So I'll just accept that sentiment and say thank you very much if that is what you feel. Why is there a level 60 Blastoise? I talk a little bit about it here. I give a hint as to where it is, but the reason there's a level 60 Blastoise early is because I like the design concept of having a very high level boss in an early level area, because it means that you have something memorable to come back to later, or you actually beat it at the low level, which takes a lot of time and persistence. Excuse me, and probably a little bit of skill. But you can do it, which is why the secret it's guarding is not like, oh, you got a level 60 Blastoise now, so you're gonna blast through the game. No, the secret is good, but it's nothing that makes you completely broken, even if you beat the Blastoise early. Following Pokemon, not really much here. I thank some people that have helped me throughout the lifespan of this project with following Pokemon, more specifically Wiser Visor, because I used their following Pokemon implementation for a really long time. And just recently RHH have got their own implementation, which I'm using now. And I mean, I added following Pokemon because they're awesome. And I added the mechanic where you can actually let it out of your Pokeball, in and out of your Pokeball at will. which sort of just means that, you know, even if you don't like following Pokemon for whatever reason, you can remove it. And I also sort of have some mechanics that only work when Pokemon are out. Like, you can only evolve Zigzagoon if it follows you for 40 steps. Same with Oddish, it has to follow you. And you can only light up dark areas if you have a Pokemon with Illuminate follow you. So it's fun to actually make it have some mechanical importance. I feel like that makes you even closer to your Pokemon. What was the hardest when making this project? The hardest part was just finishing it or keep going. Like, as a programmer and game designer, I have countless of like game ideas that I've had before. I've sort of started working on them and then I've just stopped because I realized that it's too much work, or I didn't like the idea, or there was something I didn't think of. Because usually when you have an idea for something, there's something in the idea that's like really cool, but there's a bunch of little details that are not ironed out. And then when I suddenly started to like program it, I was like, oh, I have to program all of this and all of that and all of this. And I just dropped the project because I didn't want to keep going. But with this project, I kept going, even when I took like months worth of breaks. So over 5 years, I actually finished. And yeah, fun fact there, 3 of the 4 of the game's major coding challenges were completed in like the last couple of months. Because I got a huge motivation boost and I was like, I'm just gonna finish the demo. I'm gonna finish the demo for the summer and I'm gonna release it. So I just did it, which was great. But yeah, hardest part for me was just to keep going. Because, I mean, yeah, I feel like that's the hardest part of a lot of things for me. Just consistency is very difficult. Were you inspired by other hacks? Honestly, no. I've played some really good ones. Which ones have I played? I know I played Pokemon Uranium a long time ago. I don't think I ever finished. I've played Pokemon Gaia. I played Pokemon Radical Red. I've played the Pokemon Fusion fan game. A couple of other ones that I don't really remember. I haven't played the super difficult Kaizo hacks, but I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of them, which I really enjoy. I've also watched a lot of hacks that I haven't played, like streamers and YouTubers play them. But yeah, when making my game, there were probably some things that I was inspired by from other hacks, but they were mostly very minor, and honestly, none of them come to my head immediately right now. But I had plenty of ideas of my own, so I just sort of went with what I thought would be fun to have in a video game, or in a Pokemon video game. What's my favorite Pokemon? My favorite Pokemon's Mawile. I think it's Mawile, but as I say here, I'm not really a person that has favorites, so I list a bunch here. I like a bunch of Generation 1, 2, 3. I think the reason I like Mawile is because I like its typing and I like its Mega Evolution, even though I'm not a huge fan of Megas in general. And it just sort of became the Pokemon that I said was my favorite, even though I like plenty of other ones. Yeah, I don't really have a favorite, but if somebody asks, I think I usually say Mawile. Was this hard to code? This depends on your skill level, obviously, but this was pretty difficult for me. I learned a lot of stuff while coding this, so I got a lot better as a programmer. I also started this pretty early on in my programming career, and I, like I said, spent 4 years at a programming company, so I improved a lot at the company as well. So I just got better and better, which allowed me to have the guts and skill to sort of tackle the bigger programming challenges. But yeah, it's hard. The project is done in C, which is a low-level language. If you don't know much about programming, it just basically means that it's quote-unquote harder to program in. And what harder to program in means is that you just have to keep track of more stuff on your own. Like, it just means that you, as the programmer or the creator, have to think about more things yourself. Like, you have to think about memory management, you have to think about how bits work, and a bunch of other things. It's easier to mess up, I'll say that. But again, there's a lot of like resources out there. There's a lot of help. I think I even mentioned that in the text here. So if you want to make your own project, definitely give it a go. There's different ways to make Pokemon ROM hacks. I'm very biased towards using just coding, like using a decompilation project and coding it yourself, but that's because I am a programmer. There's also binary hacking, which I don't know almost anything about, so you could look into that. There's also making a fan game using stuff like RPG Maker, Pokemon Essentials. A lot of people do that because that's a bit of more of a game engine vibe, I think. But you probably have to code a bunch of stuff in that yourself too. But with that said, there's so many things you can do without coding. Like you can make Pokemon changes incredibly easy without knowing any code because the files are just text. It just says like Pokemon name, Pikachu. And then you can just change Pikachu to whatever. It says Pokemon special attack 52 and you can change that to whatever. You can change the typing, you can change the moves. Like it's very easy to make Pokemon changes, type chart changes, maps using programs made by my other very good programmers. I use Porimap, for example, to make my maps, which is a very good program to just cleanly make Pokemon Emerald maps. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do. Scripting's not really programming. Well, depends on how you look at it, I guess. So yeah, if you want to give it a go, go for it. Where can I give feedback? This is pretty much the same answer as the where can I report bugs? Poke community post, Reddit post, Discord me, or email me. I'd love any and all feedback. Please go ahead. Why have level caps? I think, yeah, like I say here, just mindlessly grinding a Pokemon to a really high level to beat a hurdle is kind of boring, because grinding in and of itself, I think, is relatively boring. It does depend a lot on the grind, like how the grind is formed. Like I play RuneScape, right? I think RuneScape is almost only grinding. So it depends, but in Pokemon, I'd much rather have you figure out another strategy or try another Pokemon than just grind up your starter to level 50 and beat the first gym with it. So I implemented level caps due to that. With level caps, I can also formulate the level curve of the game much easier because I can control your highest level and I can make trainers sort of be around that level, gym leaders. It also works really nicely with the XP store, because even if you are level capped, the XP just goes into the store, so no experience is lost. So I think that actually works super, super nice. I have a lot of systems that work nicely together, which I'm very happy about. Yeah, and here I talked about the XP store, just same thing. I know that in Nuzlocke and stuff that I watch on YouTube, a lot of people are fans of having infinite rare candies because they don't like grinding at all. And I mean, if I did a Nuzlocke, I would do the same thing. I don't really do Nuzlocks though. But I'm a fan of that. But I think that for a regular Pokemon game, you should still battle trainers and level up through battling. So XP store is sort of a compromise. It's sort of like a rare candy because you can just store up XP and then just use the XP store on a Pokemon to level it up, just like a rare candy. But you have to actually do fights to get that experience, so you have to play through the game. But yeah, honestly, I think it's a great solution, and it just works in my game with level caps very well. Did you have any ideas that you scrapped? Yes. Don't remember most of them, honestly. Ideas come, ideas go. I have several ideas document where I just write down ideas, so I remember them for the future. I have a bunch of stuff written down, let me tell you that. Sometimes I do a method that I guess a friend sort of told me about, but I think I was doing it before he told me about it anyways. But it's when you like have a really good idea, you literally sleep on it. Just don't write it down, keep it in your head, just sleep on it, and if you still remember the idea the next day, and if it still sounds good, then it's probably good. Then I write it down. So I do that. Oh yeah, and as I say there, originally you had infinite Pokeballs in this game, but I scrapped that. And like I said there, I don't really remember why I scrapped that. I think it was because it removed buying Pokeballs, so it removed your main reason from going to stores. It also meant that I couldn't really leave Pokeballs around in the overworld for you to pick up, which gave me less items to leave in the overworld, so nah, I just added back Pokeballs. It's not that big of a deal. Speaking of Pokeballs, I think I've said this before again, but all the other Pokeballs are planned as skins that you can get from Kurt in Verdant Oak City. He is in the demo, but his function of giving you skins is not in the demo. Did I change the AI? No. That's the answer. I didn't change it like at all. I made it kind of consider the wet status because I made a new status called wet, but that's it. The AI is made by the people at RHH. Secret lairs are just a fun little thing to find while you're exploring. I've talked about them before. Again, I've talked about most of this stuff before, but we are going to go through everything. Even though the time of this episode is shooting up into the sky, almost at 1.5 hours, but that's fine. But yeah, secret lairs, somewhat inspired by the Trick House. I think they're really fun, sort of a short little thing. You can get different Pokemon in there, you don't know which one you're going to get, so it's really fun to see which one you get. Makes it more fun to replay the game, maybe Nuzlocke it, see what you get. You can sort of change your strategy depending on what you see in there. Wet status. The wet status was originally just a coding challenge for myself. I wanted to see if I could make my own status effect, and I could. And I really like how wet turned out. I think it's really broken, but I think it's also, in a way, sort of balanced, because in some scenarios it just does nothing. So it's a bit weird. But I'm very curious to see how it turns out in like late game, like higher power levels situations with the wet water resonance especially. So I guess we'll see if the full game ever comes out, if wet is really strong or not. Alright, wow, we're almost finished. I'm doing really good. Why frostbite and not freeze? Now the words I say here in text are a bit aggressive. I call it stupid RNG. I mean, there's loads of stupid RNG in Pokemon that I've kept, so that's not really a good reason. But I do think that freeze is very boring because it's such a low chance to happen. Like in the base games, it's like a 10% chance to freeze from moves like Ice Beam or something. And if it happens, it's just so incredibly punishing because it's like a super sleep. And not only is it a super sleep, it's just a chance to be a super sleep, because if you're just unlucky, you're frozen for literally infinite turns, because it's just a chance to get unfrozen. It's never guaranteed, while a sleep is always guaranteed after, what, like 3 turns? So freeze is it's just a chance to ruin the game for you. I feel like you can't play around freeze in the same way that you can play around sleep. I feel that way, at least. Because it's such a low chance to happen anyways, so you don't plan for it, and then it does happen and just ruins it. So yeah, Frostbite is way better. Burn is super strong in the games, so I really like to have like a special attack version of Burn. Frostbite is an official Pokemon thing. They added in Pokemon Arceus, so I was like, hey, just steal this. It was already in the RHH repository anyways, so I just used their code for it. And the final question, what software did you use for this project? So I code using Visual Studio Code. That's my IDE of choice. I've used it for most of my coding career. I guess in the beginning I used just regular Visual Studio when I coded game prototypes in Unity. In Visual Studio Code I used the WSL extension, which I believe stands for Windows Subsystem Linux or something like that. What it basically means is that the compilation project runs in a Linux environment and I'm on a Windows computer, so this extension sort of emulates or fakes a Linux environment, so I can run the code nicely on Linux. And I think, most programmers like Linux, right? I used Linux a lot at work. VMs with Linux on them, very common, using the command line to jump around, so that's fine. But yeah, the WSL extension you can find it in Visual Studio Code or download it as a plugin for Visual Studio Code, or extension. So basically it's used Visual Studio Code. Also, if you look up tutorials on how to start with the Decompilation Emerald project, the tutorial that you will probably find on Poke Community mentions how to set up the WSL extension. So, that's where I got it from, right? Like I said before, I do all my maps with Porimap, and I eventually, after some years, like 2.5 years, moved over to scripting in PoriScript, which is a scripting language that Hooterlem has made for the compilation project. Hooterlem also made Porimap. I would 100% recommend both Porimap and PoriScript. Originally, I thought like, hey, it might be more worthwhile for me as a programmer to learn the actual scripting language that they use in these games and not just use PoriScript that someone else has made. Completely wrong. There's really no reason to learn the scripting language in Generation 3 games. Not even sure what it is, so don't ask me exactly what it's called or even it has a name. Maybe it's just unique to the Gen 3 games. I don't know. But definitely use PoryScript. It is very similar to just regular coding. You can still do the regular scripting if you want to. PoryScript just speeds everything up. And there are a lot of scripts to make. This demo has thousands of scripts, probably. Actually, that might be a lie. I don't know how many it has, but it has at least thousands of lines of scripting. So making stuff go quickly is good. I edit sprites and images using graphic scale. I would probably not recommend graphic scale. I think it's probably pretty old by now. I don't think a lot of people use it because I don't hear a lot of people mention it. It's really hard to find information on graphic scale online, like if you're stuck or wondering how to do something. But it is sort of like a pixel art program, so I've gotten used to using it, so I'm still using it. But if you're gonna find one yourself, probably look for other modern ones. There's definitely other modern free ones that are not graphic scale. And then I use GIMP, which is a image manipulation program to remove EXIF data. EXIF data is like extra data in an image. So if you take an image on your phone, it'll not only save the image, it usually saves like the date when the image was taken and a bunch of other stuff. All of that stuff is EXIF data, and in Game Boy games in general, you don't have a lot of space. So you don't want all of that unnecessary garbage data on your images. So I use GIMP to remove that stuff. You can probably remove it in other ways. I think there are even online methods of removing stuff very easily. So. And the emulator I use is MGBA. It's the one I'm using right now. It's the one I recommend you use because it's very good. You don't have to use it, but I have only tested this game with MGBA. And there are, or definitely can be, differences between emulators, so just be warned that maybe something weird could happen in another emulator. Probably not, but I guess it could happen. Alright. Wow. We're done. That is everything. And we're clocking in at a clean 1 hour and almost 32 minutes, is what my recording software is telling me. That is wonderful. See you around, and thanks again for playing, is my last message to you as the player. Let's save again. Wow, that took an hour. Wonderful. All right. I think that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else to say. This has been all of my ramblings for my own Pokemon Romhack, Pokemon Victory. Yeah. Darn, that was a lot of episodes, huh? What is the total time of all of my ramblings? 14 episodes. Each episode is like 40 minutes. It's many, many hours of just me talking about this game. But if you did watch all of that, and if you did make it to the very end, which is right here and right now, then thank you very, very much. I never made YouTube videos before, really, so this has been very fun, honestly. It's been very fun to see what people have said when they've watched my videos, the comments they leave, and it's been fun to get some views and some likes on some of the videos. So yeah, but this is the end of everything for now. Like I've said, this project will not immediately continue, so the videos will stop here. But who knows? My channel will remain. Don't think I'll upload anything else, but if I do upload something else in the future, it'll hopefully be a continuation of this, if I eventually decide to keep going. But with all of that out of the way, I guess I won't see you in the next episode, or at least not anytime soon. But hopefully I'll see you around, and hopefully you decide to check out my game, maybe leave a comment, maybe some feedback. And yeah, so thank you all very much for watching one last time, and bye for now.